Hello and welcome again to 7 Minute Sessions with me, Sherry Crowley. 7 minutes or less of ADHD tips for executives and entrepreneurs. So, if you have ever felt completely crushed by even the smallest criticism or rejection, as in it sticks with you longer and hits harder than it seems to for other people, this may be the training for you. That is something called rejection sensitivity dysphoria, or RSD. I'll use the shorter RSD today. And I want to share what that is, why it's so common in ADHD women, and 5 tips you can use to manage it. So I'll start with the basics. RSD is an intense emotional response to perceived rejection or criticism. For some, it can feel physically painful, almost like being punched in the gut. The emotions can come out of nowhere and they might leave you feeling like you want to withdraw, doubting yourself, sometimes even lashing out at people. The important thing to know is that this isn't just being too sensitive. For ADHD brains, RSD is a real neurological and emotional reaction. So ADHD brains are more sensitive to perceived rejection or criticism because of an overactive amygdala, which is the brain's emotional center, and reduced prefrontal cortex activity, which makes it harder to moderate emotional responses and recover from intense feelings. So why this is so common in ADHD women, executives, and entrepreneurs, and many of us are moms as well. There's a few reasons. First, it is what I just spoke to briefly. Emotional regulation is tough for ADHD brains. That means that when rejection or criticism happens, it feels bigger and harder to manage than maybe for the average person. Secondly, the ADHD brain is wired for dopamine. I know we talk about dopamine in almost every training it comes up because it's a thing. So here we crave validation to boost those dopamine levels, and when we don't get it, it can feel sometimes devastating for some people. Third, life experiences do matter. Many of us with ADHD have grown up facing criticism about being disorganized, being distracted, not meeting expectations as executives and entrepreneurs. And again, many of us as moms often juggle even more roles. Higher pressure makes us more vulnerable to feeling that rejection. So let's get to the good stuff. Here are 5 tips, and there are many more. These are just some of my favorites to manage your ADHD. Yes, that's part of it. To manage RSD. Tip 1 is to challenge your negative thoughts. So when rejection hits, write down the thought that's bothering you. For instance, I'm just making up a random one. I'm bad at my job. And then challenge that with evidence against that. Maybe you've actually had great feedback before. Maybe you had a recent performance review that was actually good. Reframe the thought to something more balanced, like this is one moment in time. This isn't the core of my being. This doesn't mean anything. This is a data point. I often talk about data points, and in my upcoming coaching program, we're going to get deep into recognizing and changing your thoughts as a major tool for changing your actions. But I do digress as usual. Second tip for managing RSD, strengthen your communication skills. So what that means is ask clarifying questions in conversations to avoid misinterpretations. For example, let's say the feedback feels really harsh. You can ask, can you elaborate more on what you mean? Or can you explain? Can you say more? It helps you, doing this helps you feel a little more in control and challenging the weight of your assumptions. Sometimes you still might not like the answer, but sometimes you will find that maybe you are perceiving something that wasn't actually what they were saying. Number 3, anticipate and prepare for triggers. I really love this one. If you know going into certain situations like a performance review, or you're going to have a tough conversation with a boss or with an employee today, that and you know the conversation is likely to trigger RSD, plan ahead, practice grounding techniques in advance, rehearse positive self-talk in advance. One of my favorite ones is to remind yourself of your strengths before going in and after. So I'd go so far as to write down a list in advance, write it on a piece of paper, have that in your pocket, write it on your phone, wherever you want to write it, with positives and strengths. And right before you go in, look at it. Right after you come out, look at it. Um, Number 4, Surround yourself with supportive people. Having a network of people who uplift you and value your contributions and your quirks can neutralize this thing of rejection. Lean into those people who truly see and appreciate you and plan to again, bookend it. Speak to them before you go into a difficult conversation. Speak again to them after you go into a difficult conversation or come out of a difficult conversation or presentation or whatever. Those people are a lifeline. And then lastly, engage in healthy self-soothing. When emotions run high, find ways to calm your nervous system and practice those ways before in the moment. People want to do nervous system regulation work in the moment. It doesn't work like that. I mean, it can, but it really works when you practice regularly. Deep breathing, journaling, even taking a short walk can help process feelings and regain balance. The short walk thing can work in the moment, but people often push back against nervous system work because it's not always a quick fix. But if you do this over time, learn to regulate your nervous system, it allows your reactions to be tempered. And that is significantly helpful with RSD. All right. So these are 5 out of many. I didn't even talk about building a gratitude practice, rejection reframes, and so many more. RSD doesn't have, this is what I want you to take, is that RSD doesn't have to control you. With practice, with the right strategies, you can take some of the sting out of rejection. I'm not promising rainbows and unicorns, but it can 100% be better than what you're used to. So I'd love to know which of these tips resonates with you most. Let me know in the comments below or reach out if you'd like to dive deeper. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. I will see you next time. Bye.